Hey guys, it is me, Tanya. I am back. How are we doing? How are things going? I'm the founder of the TNG Design Group Limited, and I hope you're all keeping safe and well as always. We are in part 2 of average brands versus professional brands. So I hope you got a hell of a lot out of part 1 because there was so much that I covered in there. We're talking about the idea of functionality and the idea of awareness, right? There's so much more. And guess what? In part 2 of this video, we're going to be talking about what happens next. You know, there's so much that we need to make sure that we cover within our business journeys, within our entrepreneurial journeys and so forth. So make sure that you stick around to find out what that is. Equally, as always, at the end of this video, I've got a really cool gift that I'm going to be sharing with you. So please make sure that you stick around to the end. Without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so we've spoken about the idea of functionality. We've spoken about the idea of awareness. Now, all those aspects to begin with, they're on building the idea of relationships. And in part 3 of this video, I'm actually going to be talking about a lot more about that part. But before that, there's this juicy little middle part that we need to make sure actually happens in order for the end part to actually continue. So we know how to start it. We know how to potentially end it, or continue it, in fact. But how do we actually make sure that we now start doing the idea of converting? And that's the third thing we actually want to be addressing. So we've got functionality as number 1, we've got awareness as number 2, and now the idea of converting. How are we actually making sure that, you know what, these leads that we're talking to, this audience that we're actually talking to, what are we doing with them now? We've made ourselves aware. So what next? Well, now, as I said, we start converting. How are we actually making sure that we funnel this audience, we trickle this audience into a really cool CRM system or a really cool aspect that will allow us now to keep continuously talking to this audience so we can build on those relationships, so that we can make sure that we know who that we're talking to when we're launching new products. What are we doing to make sure that we are actually now channeling in this new audience? What is that device? What is that device for you? You know, the average brand will literally just go about making sure that they shout about their really cool product, which is great to a certain extent. They might get a little muddled because guess what? They probably wouldn't have addressed the functionality aspect or the awareness aspect properly. So when it comes to this conversion side of things, it probably would have built up a bit of a confusion, you know, amongst their audiences because that message to begin with would have been confusing. But the professional brand, who understood their functionality aspects, who understood what their guiding tools were actually doing for them, and equally what the awareness aspect was for them as well, they're going to understand that, you know what, this conversion aspect will now run all the more smoother. Because they've taken their audience from journey A, and now they're taking them to the next step, journey B. And eventually all the way through to C, D, E, all the way through to the end of the alphabet, right? And then some. It's understanding how we're actually going to make sure that our audiences move from one state to the next, from one aspect to the next. So this is a way of doing it, to make sure that that movement continues when you're actually converting them into another aspect, into another way, into another movement, in fact, into another stage. When you actually start taking them on that journey is when you actually then start making those sales, right? Now, as we know, cash is king, but sales is super queen, right? And we want to make sure that that sales aspect continues throughout this conversion aspect. Because you can have all the leads in the world, you could have all the audience in the world, you can have as many followers if you want, but you know what? Those followers don't mean a thing, those leads don't mean a thing if you're not converting them. And converting them is what will take them from A to B to C to D to beyond in the rest of the alphabet and so forth, right? So when you start making those conversions, that's what really counts. This is where all the juicy bit happens, as I was saying before. And there are so many aspects. As I said, the average brand will just look at, do you know what? Yeah, I made a couple of sales, that's all good. Woo! Or I've built on these followers, that's amazing, that's great. But the professional brand will understand that, you know what, amazing, I've got these really cool followers, but now let me make sure that these followers start turning into amazing leads. And now let me make sure that these leads start turning into really amazing conversions. We start selling to them because these followers are actually our right audience. The average brand won't even look at that. But the professional brand will understand that, you know what, these people that we're actually trying to attract in the first place are the right followers. Because we could work with anybody, right? But we don't want to work with everybody. We want to work with those who are actually suited to our business, who are actually suited to what it is that we're trying to do. Even as a personal brand, you know, we want to make sure that we're attracting those who resonate with our values, who are in alignment with our values. And even as a personal brand, you can still sell stuff because you can still sell things that are still, as I said, in alignment with what it is that your goal is about. Selling doesn't always have to be like a monetary exchange. No. Selling can be the idea of you're trying to build awareness about a charity. Selling could be about the idea of you're trying to build awareness about what it is that you're trying to do. But you're building that following that is meaningful. And I think that's another key word, meaningful, purposeful, in fact. If it doesn't have the purpose or isn't in alignment with this meaning that you're trying to do or this end goal, then why are we doing it? Why are we talking to those people? We don't need to talk to everybody, but we do need to talk to the relevant people. We need to talk to the right people. We need to put the time and energy and the effort into the right audience. So that's something I really want you guys to think about. And again, when it comes to conversions, you know, there's so many different platforms out there that can actually help you in order to be able to make sure that you automate, in fact, how to build on those conversions. But at the end of the day, it starts with making sure that you have that right audience to begin with. So that's what we want to make sure that we do. We want to make sure that this part that we started with at the beginning, the idea of functionality, runs smoothly into the idea of awareness. Then runs smoothly into the idea of converting. Because that part at the beginning where we addressed what our brand power of 3 was or is for us today, not what it was when we started at the very beginning of our businesses. I'm talking about what it is for us today. Now, if you have started your business today, well then amazing. You're at a great spot right now, right? But at the same time, if this is something that you started 10 years ago, in fact, you know, or something like that, readdress where you are today, readdress what your values are today so we can make sure that we hit that right audience properly. We're giving them that message that is meaningful and purposeful. And we're also giving them a message or the notion or the idea that we equally understand them so that when it comes to the idea of awareness, we're putting out the right content. And when it comes to the idea of conversion, we're putting out the idea of, do you know what, we can now help you to move from one state to the next. Because as I said before earlier in this video and the video of part 1 as well, we're helping our audiences move from one state to the next. And that's what it's about. It's all well and good having these 1 million followers, but they don't mean a thing if you're not actually converting them. So that's something that I really want you guys to think about. And if you are doing that, well then, hello, amazing. It's always great to have a reminder, right? So, guys, without further ado, I'm going to leave it right there and make sure you join me on part 3 of this video. The summary of this video. In actual fact, we've got one more thing that we're going to be touching base on, and I really want you guys to take part of this and take note of this because it is super, super key in order to make sure that we not only get visible, stay visible, but we equally remain visible as well. So I'm going to be talking to you guys about how you can do that. And as always, this cool little gift that I've got for you. It's a guide that literally you can tap into right now. Read it through your own time, leisurely time, and you can go back and implement certain things, but you can do that today. You don't have to wait till tomorrow or to the next week or to next month. No, you can do it today. You know, what are we all waiting for? You know, that's a question that I always like to put for my audiences, even my prospects as well, or clients. What are you waiting for? You know, what is stopping you? What is holding you back? And 9 times out of 10, when we start digging deep as to what that aspect is, we actually find that, do you know what? It's us. Ask me how I know this, right? But in any case, folks, have an amazing read of this guide. I hope you like it. Any comments that you have on this video, please let me know. Please equally like and share and subscribe to this video. Make sure that you do that if you haven't done so already. And I will see you on the part 3 of average brands versus professional brands.